who they are as a person is much more important than what they know. Because you can fix what they know, but you can't fix who they are. One person in a company of 15 can destroy the entire culture.
Welcome to Builders, Budgets, and Beers. I'm Reece Barnes, and I started this podcast to have real conversations about money in the building industry, the wins, the mistakes, and everything in between. I believe builders deserve to feel confident about their finances, and that starts by hearing from others who've been through it too. This industry can be slow to change, but the right stories and the right tools can make profitability feel possible. Let's get into it. All right, mics are hot. We're on, Paul.
So I was saying I've done like 600 podcasts.
Yeah, which is nuts.
I did 300 literally 15 years ago. We're like the fourth or maybe 20th podcast ever, right? My friends and I got together. We probably drank too much and said, hey, let's just do this podcasting, right? So we did it. It was interesting. We got all kinds of businesses. We had like 10,000 listeners, which is a lot for a long time ago. And we have various guests on business success tips that we would have.
Yeah.
One of the most interesting ones was was a brothel in Australia.
Dude, it was cash flow positive.
Right. Yeah. So he said, "What for your market?" And I said, "Wear shirt or skirts." I mean, what can I say, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So that was interesting. We had actually one guy listed he moved over from Germany because he did his business success tips podcast, and he wanted to start a business. He had a software company. He moved to like where we were in San Francisco. He moved there, started his business. I'll tell you, his citizenship cost him 3 years and $20,000. It was not easy to become a citizen of the United States 15 years ago. But he started his business, has been successful. So I've done lots of these, and I always find the interesting thing is if you're starting with a business, all business owners have the same issues. You know, how to make more money in less time and have more fun, right? That's
correct.
The fundamental thing. So what I've learned about is I can tell you some basic things that I've learned over the years doing this, like God knows, 50 years. That's a long time to do anything.
Yeah.
One was...
Hang on.
Right.
Hang on. You're doing great, by the way. We just got to let them know who you are before you get into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
My name's Paul Sanneman. I've been a business coach for 50 years. I've worked with 2,500 contractors. I have almost 200,000 hours in coaching. And I started a recruiting company about 7 years ago because my clients couldn't find employees. And now I have 42 employees in that company. We've recruited 4,000 people last count. And we're probably one of the biggest recruiting companies in the construction market in the US and Canada.
You're one of a kind, Paul. Truly one of a kind. I have to check you on your data. Did you say you have over 200,000 hours of consulting?
Yes. Well, look, just do the math. Okay, let's say
2,000 working hours in a year.
Right.
That means you've been doing this for 100 years.
I'm 75, and I've done it since I've been 25. Right.
Yes.
So do the math.
Okay. 50 years. 50
years, right?
Yep.
50 years times 2,000. Well, let's say I'd say it was 10. Let's see, not 2,000. I've actually
2,000 working hours are in a year.
Okay, it's only 100,000. I guess 100,000 hours.
Yeah. I was going to say, I was like, Paul, where are we getting this from? Unless you're working just around the clock.
I did 100,000 hours. It's a long time. Right?
Yeah. Okay. So now you're going to have to update your marketing now from 200,000 to 100,000.
100,000 hours. That's fine. A long time. My whole life I've been doing this.
Yes. Okay. So start about. So you obviously business tips. I mean, and you're in the recruiting world,
right? Well, let me take a couple of business tips. It says,
let's do it.
But one of the ones that I try to convince my clients is that you need to consider yourself a marketing company that does some kind of product or service to fund your marketing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And most contractors don't get that.
Where do they miss? Go ahead.
Well, they consider marketing as a necessary evil. They don't want to do it. They have this fantasy that says, build it and they will come. Like if I do a great job, and it's all going to show up just by doing a great job for my clients. And it's not true.
Okay.
That's a myth.
What about the guys that I hear and they're like, I'm totally referral based. I don't spend a dime on marketing, and I have a pipeline and backlog built for the next 2 years.
then they should scale or not. I mean, that's the whole point. I mean, maybe
Okay.
they're doing 2 million a year in its book. That's fine, but they're not doing 20.
Sure. And to
And
get
so,
to those bigger numbers, you have to throw marketing in. Seriously.
yeah, you have to do scaling of some kind. I mean, you got to
Okay,
have
go
some
ahead.
kind of marketing program.
Okay. So they
And
miss because they have this pipe dream of like, if I build it, they will come. Let my work speak for itself. I don't need marketing.
yeah, and I mean, and it's going to get worse with AI
Okay. How so?
because what's happening now, I don't know if there's a word called Walmartization. If it is, I made it up, right?
Walmartization.
Right. So
I love it.
remember, you're old enough for this. So many years ago,
Mhm.
everybody had a downtown. The downtown had a grocery store, a drugstore, a market, blah, blah, blah. And they'd always complain, I can't find any employees. It's difficult, in Bum Trip, Idaho, it's just hard to be here, blah, 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 right? Then what happens is they build a Walmart outside of town.
Mhm.
Somewhere they come up with 500 people. I don't know where they got it. They come 500 employees, right? And then they suck all the business out of downtown because they do it better, faster, and cheaper. I mean,
Yes.
how much stuff do you order on Amazon or Target or Walmart? What percentage of the market they own? It's huge.
Yeah.
Just because
Totally.
they do it better, faster, and cheaper, right?
Yes.
So what's happening in this industry, and that's my wife in the background, say hi.
Hi.
I'm on StreamYard. I can't blur it. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good.
So what happens is with basically AI is disrupting this industry because,
Mhm.
if you're selling information for money, you're sort of done. Whether you're an attorney, you're a doctor, unless you're doing surgery, anytime you're selling information for money, what happens is that AI can do it better, faster, and cheaper, right?
Mhm.
So you're a private equity firm. You've got, pick a number, 100 million, $300 million, pick a number, and you got to put it somewhere. You're not going to invest in a movie studio. You're not going to invest in a law firm. You're probably going to stay away from healthcare. So what is a safe place to put $100 million that's going to be around 5 years from now? Become a plumber, right?
Yes. Yes. Because you're not, well, could you argue that if there was like somebody who just wanted to like sell information as a plumber,
It's you got whoever's
it's the trade, it's the
physically out
execution.
there doing the work. I mean, I literally had a podcast the other day, and some guy was an AI guru said, "Hey, tell your son to become a plumber," because plumbers, electricians, anytime you're physically doing the work, that's way down the line. Robots are just not there yet, and it'll be a while. If it's just information, it's done. So what happens to this millions of dollars? It comes into buying companies, like buying electric companies, buying
HVAC.
HVAC. They're buying companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're paying stupid, EBITDA multiples. I mean, I've got a guy, he's doing $1 million. And he got 10 million for his company. I mean, like 10
That's
times,
insane.
which is crazy, right? Because they got all this cash, and what are they going to do with it, right? So they got to throw it somewhere. I had a guy, he had 10 million. He said, I'm going to start a roofing company in Nebraska, right? Because it hails in Nebraska. They don't know what they're doing.
Go big red.
I could, what happens is he's going to own the Nebraska, whatever it is, roofing business in 3 years. So with this happening at Walmart in like the building industry, they're either going to buy you or put you out of business. I mean, and so you better get on the bandwagon because Google ads are going up exponentially as they throw money at them. Now, if you're a contractor, relationship with architects, that works. It's hard to take away. But you've just got to get on. You've got to do marketing. If you've got to compete with these guys,
Totally.
because they have more expertise in marketing, more expertise in recruiting, and they can hire whatever, plumbing. How they can learn plumbing. It's not hard to do.
Okay, so let's take this back, and we don't have to. I hope you've got your 2 other business tips on deck, but right. I do have a question. And it is in relation to the Walmartization. Is for the construction company that does struggle with recruiting, that does struggle with marketing, that is trying to figure out how the Walmart comes in and finds 500 people that they've been in the community for dozens of years, and they can't find them. How does that builder tactically start to hire in those people or find those people?
What happens is he hires a company like ours that I've ever recruited 4,000 people. I know how to do it. I mean, I'm going to tell you that the labor shortage is self-created. Because
and you've been consistent with this for years. Go ahead.
Right. If you where do we find 4,000 people? They're somewhere, right? I mean, so if you do it right, you can find people. If you do it right, you can find clients. But you've got the good news is there are companies like mine, yours, whatever, that they can outsource the marketing, outsource the recruiting for a nominal fee and get it done professionally, which didn't used to be. Don't do it yourself. Bad idea. Because you don't know how to recruit, you don't know how to market. Hire a company to do it for you.
Okay.
Just make sure you make a good decision. But that's what I would suggest.
Okay.
That's how you compete.
Okay. And that's where this is great, because I actually just released an episode with another talent group, Suman Cherry. Do you know Suman? It's Cherry Talent Group. There's a bunch of them out there. Super sharp gal. She had an opinion on like how to do this as well. And it was in line with like work with a staffing agency, right? Like work with until you're like at a critical mass to where it makes sense, or if it ever makes sense as a builder to do it in-house.
Right.
Work with staffing. When do they start with you? Is there a threshold of business?
Well, I would say since we're way less expensive than like for $1,500 a month, I can work with a company and put 5 positions versus 10% of the salary, right?
Sure.
So I would say anybody over $1 million. In fact, I've worked new companies. Anywhere $1 million makes sense, because if you work with a normal staffing agency, you hire a project manager, it's $100,000. They want 15%. That's 15,000 right there, right? I can work for a year for 18,000 all in. So that's why I built this model, because this little guys can afford it. We work with, I think, 700 clients, whatever the number was, 6, whatever it was. And most of them are between $1 million and $20 million.
Yeah.
They're small.
$1 million and $20 million. Okay. And where do you typically direct them? Because I imagine when you're working with these like million plus guys, there's like a shared misunderstanding of who they should hire first. Who do you suggest they hire first?
I mean, now that's a question for you. What's the only asset you can't get more of?
Time.
That's it, right? That's your most valuable asset.
Yeah.
So you look at where you're spending your time.
Mm-hmm.
I just talked to him the other day. He has a $50 million company. He's still doing project management. Why? It makes no sense, right?
Wait, you said a $15 million year company?
Still doing project management.
Insane. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
So you need to the most important thing to do is replace yourself. It could be you can buy get a VA offshore for $5 an hour that can take notes and go through email and that kind of stuff. Or you could hire a project manager in town for $150,000 a year. It depends. But if you're going to build a business, you got to replace yourself.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's just like a reflection of where you're spending your time is how you answer that question.
Right. I mean, you look at where you're spending your time, and can somebody else do it better, faster, and cheaper than you can?
Yeah. Okay, beautiful. Tip number 2.
Okay. Tip number 3. All right.
Wait, 3? We went from 1 to 3? Or did we cover 2?
Yeah. That was tip number 2, right? Is that good?
Yeah, I think so. Dude, this is all free. There were no tips shared. I think we're just going with it.
Okay.
Paul.
So tip number 3 is always be recruiting, always be marketing. Because, if you look at this, you're only as good as your clients and your employees. That's it. That's your company. It's all you. And if you look at people that are very successful, if you love them or hate them, Elon Musk, what's Elon Musk's superpower?
Go for it. I don't know.
The ability to build teams.
Sure. Okay.
Because otherwise, just be a smart guy with a lot of good ideas, right?
Right.
His ability to build teams has made him even Bezos. You may love or hate him, but he knows how to build teams. So your ability to build teams more than anything else will determine your success, at least in this culture.
Okay. So do you have any depth to this, or can I start prodding?
Well,
how do you get better at building teams?
Well, you hire somebody like us that's good at it.
Okay.
Or you hire, how do you get better at marketing? You don't want to learn. Just go hire a good marketing company. Let them do it for you, right?
Okay, so this seems just too obvious, right? And there's got to be some bias here, Paul, right? Of course, it's like I want people to I want them to go to Contractor staffing source, right? But
you can do. I'll tell you, if you do it yourself, okay, I can tell you. If you want to do it yourself, I'll tell you what you need to do. You want to know that?
Yes.
Okay. So if you do it yourself, 10 steps to successful recruiting. All right. Step 1, write an ad and put it everywhere. Like 100 job boards, LinkedIn, everywhere, not just Indeed and you're done.
Okay.
Everywhere. All right. That's step. And you got to write a job ad to track things. So I guess number 1 is write the right job ad. You can use ChatGPT to do that. It's actually pretty good. You can use AI, write me a job ad that's going to get somebody to quit their job and come to work for me as a project manager. It'll do that for you. It's good at that. All right. Then you post them everywhere. You can do that. It takes a lot of time. You post 100 job boards, then you post it everywhere. You should do that. This is the tough one. Respond in real time.
Okay.
We respond to 25,000 job ads in real time, resumes in real time every month.
Okay.
It takes a lot of people to do that. So if you can respond, the minute they apply, you got to be back within a minute, give or take. It's like speed to lead, right?
Totally.
Like if you're doing marketing and you have an ad on Google and somebody calls you, you can't call them 3 days later. They're gone.
Right.
Same thing in recruiting.
Totally.
Speed to lead. You got to get back in real time. And that's probably the hardest one to do yourself.
Yeah.
Is get back to all these people in real time. Because we have to go through a typical week for us. We go through 5,000 applicants to hire 15 to 20 people.
5,000 to hire 15 to 20.
Yeah, that's just the numbers.
Sure. Okay.
And you can't fix that. All right. Respond real. Then you need to do a detailed skills and behavioral test. We have one we've developed, but there's a lot of them out there. There's DISC, there's Briggs-Myers. You need to give them an assessment that will do a deep psychological dive on who they are as a human being.
Okay.
And you can get those skills test, intelligence test, integrity test. You need to, this profile season, you need to do all the things you can to assess the person to make sure they're the right person for the job.
Okay.
So you do really in-depth assessments. Okay.
Hang on. I imagine that there's like some level of understanding and analysis there as well, because you get like Briggs and Meyer or DISC or whatever it's called, right?
Right.
And they're just like, okay, we've got the speed to lead down. We've got all these. We've got the Paul Sanneman recipe tapped.
Right.
We're starting to crank it out,
right?
But then it's like you're looking at this information. It's like, okay, great.
Well, if you don't know how to read it, it doesn't do you any good. Right?
That's the point. That's kind of what I'm getting at. So it's like, what do you like when you look at a Briggs and Meyer? Say we're talking about a project manager. What do they got to have?
Well, I mean, we get good at that, obviously, but you can either maybe hire somebody who does the assessments to assess them for you. You can pay somebody to do that, because you got to know what the assessment says about the person. Our assessment, we know, we do a whole like DISC profile, whole honesty, integrity thing, intelligence. We test everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll know, in fact, we actually program what a successful project manager looks like on DISC profile. We've done like 300,000 of them, so we reverse engineered it and said, what makes a good project manager? So make sure that when you do the assessment, somebody does the analysis and knows what the heck they're doing.
Yeah.
Because the test without a decent analysis, maybe the people that you bought the assessment from can do it for you or something. But you need to find, yes, this person has a psychological profile to be a project manager or a carpenter or whatever, right? Okay. Yes. Next, after the detailed assessment, you do video interviews. What I would suggest is there's some software that we have on our website, but you can probably get some on the internet, that basically does a video interview. Do it on the phone. You have a list of questions, and they do the video interview on their phone or computer or whatever. It's much better than real time. It's much easier to do. So you do a video interview, which answers all of the questions you couldn't get on the assessment. You can't say, how's your English? Or you can't say, are you healthy or not? Are you 92 or 29? The video interview allows you to find out everything you couldn't find out on the assessment. Mm-hmm. So that's you do a video. You do the video interview, okay? And the next, once you do a video interview, you can do an in-person Zoom interview. That's like so you actually get to talk to this person in real time. All right.
Correct.
Then you do background checks. Important. I literally had a client once, hired a bookkeeper. The bookkeeper embezzled him. He went to the DA, and the DA said, "Look, you realize she got fired for embezzling on her last 3 jobs."
Oh my God. What?
Right. Like, dude, you didn't do no research, right? So,
dude, how would she walk in the streets, by the way?
Hey, trust me, you don't go to jail for embezzling. You just slap your hand and say, sorry about that. All right. Now, some crazy number, like 10 or 20% of contracts are embezzled, some crazy number. And you're always embezzled by people you trust, right?
Totally.
Absolutely. Because if you don't trust them, they can't embezzle from you. So if you trust them, they can pull it off. So do background checks and make sure they're done. Call references. Yeah. And if a person says that this is all the time you worked here, that's a bad reference, right? Yeah. Because that's all I'm going to tell you. All right. Yeah. And then you got to make a competitive job up. Now, AI is good for this. You can say, hey, I'm in, a contractor in Kansas City. I'm hiring a project manager, this, and this. What's a competitive job offer for this job? And it'll do the research and tell you. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's a lot. And then onboarding is crucial, right? Because there's no day more important than the first day.
Right.
Because when you show up to work, you quit your job, right? And you went to work for this new company. Now, you're going to go home to your spouse. It's going to be one of these two extremes. Oh my God, this is the best decision I've ever made. These people are awesome. Or maybe I made the wrong decision,
Right.
right? You got to make sure they say the first thing.
Right.
So you don't throw them a tool belt and say, go out and work. You've got to appreciate them, tell them what they're going to do, set up KPIs, set up a whole onboarding process. And AI is good for that. You go to AI and say, I'm hiring a project manager, blah, blah, blah. Give me a 6-week onboarding process, and it does a great job.
Yep.
So,
Totally.
and then do an onboarding process, and then make sure you're still a great company to work for. Because if you're not a great company to work for, you're going to have turnover.
Totally. Okay. And I think the onboarding one is huge. And I think that actually like kind of sheds light on this. Like, okay, everybody, for the listeners, you just went through the 10-point checklist on how to do this successfully on your own.
Right.
Now, there's a lot to this, right? It's like you can give someone a set of plans and say, okay, go build the house, right? Then it's like, what do I need the contractor for? Right? It's like the devil's in the details, right? There's all this nuance, right? And I think with the onboarding piece, it resonates is I've heard that regularly, right? Like the emphasis in recruiting is onboarding. Like you can get through all of the sludging and the getting all the interviews reviewed and the phone calls and the screens and the tests and then the interviews and then the offers and then the signing, but then you get them to the onboarding and just like totally collapse. Right. I think this is something that I'm probably a little bit more like bullish on is like, there's a lot of people that look at like, hey, I'm $1 million. I need to go hire somebody. When it's not as much like a monetary benchmark of what is determining if you're ready to hire or not is what is the validity of the processes you have in your business? Right. Because if you could hire whoever you want, plug them in, and they're going to freaking drown.
Well, and it's a cultural thing, right? I mean, like, why is that offshore? I have 40 some people that work for me. And like, once I discovered offshore, I've got, 5 people bridge why everybody's offshore because I get amazing people. We have to go through 400 or 500 to find one, but we find one, they're amazing. Right.
Right.
But we have a culture where we trust people, right? We don't monitor the computers. We don't say, we have KPIs they have to meet, but we're like a great company to work for. So we have zero turnover, right? Because we're a good place to work. If you're trying to use offshore and you look on their computer, if you don't trust them, they're going to quit.
Totally.
So it's the same. Culture is crucial.
For sure.
And it has to be a nice place to work. If you have heavy turnover, it's your fault.
Right.
That's just not a good place to work.
Totally.
And that's everything. And people, when they quit, they generally quit not for money. They quit because they're not respected. They're not trusted. They're not treated well. And they leave because they just don't want to be there. Mm-hmm. And that's your fault. Right.
100%. And this goes back even like the KPI thing. Right. The KPI, the expectations, the job description, the accountability, the onboarding, right? It's like we could say all these things, but if it's not reflected in the day to day, like you're going to get uncovered pretty quick.
Right. And people aren't going to work there and they'll leave.
Right. For sure. Do you ever get into those conversations with your clients when they come to you?
Yes. And some are successful and some aren't.
Okay. Well, then what's the determining factor? You've seen winners, you've seen losers.
How coachable the person is, right?
Meaning the owner.
The owner, right?
Yeah.
So if the owner says, I totally get it, I'm going to follow the onboarding process, I'm going to respect the human being, I'm going to treat them well, that's fine. If they go look at, I pay them the money, they do what I tell them to do, doesn't work that well.
Yeah. Okay, so it's coachability, it's application.
Right.
Okay, and you do that. You give them onboarding plans.
Yeah, we do. Because part of what we do is that if we have a client come on board and say, I went through 4 project managers in the last 6 months ago. Oh my God. Right? It's obviously him, right?
Yeah.
Like some convinced to say, I've married 7 women and all women are idiots. I mean, it's so you got to take responsibility, right?
Of course.
And the one thing I learned as a coach is the most important thing for somebody to get as a business owner. But let's look at the bell-shaped curve of humanity, right? On one side, you've got people that the dog ate their homework. No matter what happened, it's not my fault. Zero responsibility. And the other hand of the scale, you got people, my car get hit in the parking lot, I must have parked it in the wrong place, right?
Right.
They believe they create their own reality. They took the blue pill or whatever it was. Red
yeah,
coffee.
Sure.
But they believe they create their own reality. So you want to hire people toward the non-victim part of life.
Sure.
Because if they interview and say, my last boss was an idiot, the body before that was an idiot, I never paid enough money, and they give this whole kind of drama queen or king, forget it. They're just going to bring all that to you.
Totally. So
you want to hire people that take responsibility for their life and are not victims.
does this come through in like the DISC assessment, or does this come out in interviewing?
There's one that shows responsibility. There's one that honesty that we have. If their honesty score is like terrible, then they're probably lying, which is not good. Because this person lies 10% of the time. You never know what the 10% is, so you can't trust them, right?
Totally. Yeah.
So who they are as a person is much more important than what they know.
Yeah.
Because you can fix what they know, but you can't fix who they are. And sometimes in recruiting, one of the issue, I want a guy with 10 years experience in building $10 million houses, blah, blah. I go, look at it. You can train that. But you can't train integrity. You can't train honesty. You can't train, being a good human being. They're either are, they're not.
Right.
And you can measure it. But you don't want to hire people that don't fit your culture, because they'll just, literally one person in a company of 15 can destroy the entire culture.
Totally. How often do you see that?
A lot.
A lot?
Well, what happens is, especially when I was coaching. When I was coaching, they'd say, there's John. One day, John was great. John's amazing. Next, I can't believe John crashed a truck again, or he didn't show up on time. Oh, and it's the world's worst employees when it's not bad enough to fire, good enough to keep. They suck. Yeah. Because they stay on forever. And they're terrible, right? Because, they good thing, bad thing, good thing. I believe if there's anybody you wouldn't rehire in your company without a question, you should fire.
Right.
The cost they have to your company is way more than you think. Because, unless you have built a culture of honesty, for lack of a term, right? And they lie. Well, then the person goes, well, I guess lying is okay now, because he lied, and if he lied, I can lie. And, it may just be
spreads.
Maybe a lie like, I really didn't steal the tool. I need it more than he did. Or I always show up 20 minutes late because who cares? Or, lies can take a lot of different, but basically a lying is you don't tell the truth as you know it.
Right.
And that you can't fix.
Yeah. And that's where, again, you come through and like you do these tests and you do the interviews, and then you're diligent in onboarding, and you're available, and you're evaluating during onboarding. Is that fair?
Right. It's all about your success in business will be 100% correlated with your ability to build a team.
Yeah. And that's where Elon Musk comes in, full circle. The guy's incredible at building teams.
Right. But that's the key, building. If you can't build a team, and you notice when he builds teams, like he spends time on the floor with them, he's like a regular guy. You may love him or hate him, but he isn't arrogant in a classic sense of arrogance. Right.
Right.
And he always pushing, hey, here, if you look at every time he launched something, there's the whole everybody cheering, yay, we put the spaceship up there, we put the satellites up there. It's never I, right? It's always we.
Totally. And that's like, I think you just go to this, like, he's not arrogant in the traditional definition. Right. It's like, you do. You see, and frankly, I'm not like, I don't follow Elon Musk. Like, I don't know enough about him. I know enough about him, but from what I see he's like the guy that he's like, I have 52 problems that I need to solve a year. Because every year that one of those problems gets a week of my attention, and I'm always looking at like the biggest problem to solve. Right. And what that week is him being in the trenches. That's where you're like, he's not arrogant, but I think probably the better way to put it is like, he's not too proud, right, to roll up his sleeve, and he's like so close to the business.
Right. So I would say, there's books on team building. There's, tons. All information is basically free, right? Mm-hmm. You can ask AI. You can go on. All information is free, so it doesn't cost you anything. You have to go and say, how do I increase my team building skills? What does that look like? Mm-hmm. How do I build a great construction team? It's all out there. You just have to ask for it, right? Mm-hmm. And now information is all free. But that's more important than your ability to, frame a door or lay a foundation in a straight line.
Right.
And that's the key. So unfortunately, a lot of contractors don't work, Jim Rohn is one of my idols from way back when. He's dead now, but said, you got to work harder on yourself than you do on your business.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
Right. It's all about, am I listening to podcasts? Am I being a better human being? I don't know if it's spiritual, mental, physical, whatever I can do to become a better human being is going to help my company be better. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where a lot of people that own businesses don't spend the time.
Because
They don't understand the value, I think.
it's because they don't
Or
understand
it's,
the
or
value.
it's hard. I mean, that's another question, right? I
Yeah.
mean, like, who wants to run through? I mean, I probably spend 3 hours a day doing between meditation, running, working every day, right? On me.
Yeah.
And anybody could do that. I think if work out the 3 hours. And most people, the number of reason people don't do things is, and this is a funny story. The reason most people don't take time management is no time, right?
Right.
So you need to spend the time working on you, whatever spiritual, mental, physical, whatever that is for you. You need to focus on that to get better as a better human being. That will do the best thing you can do for your business.
For
It'll
sure.
also attract quality people, right?
100%.
Because they'll want to be with you because you tell the truth, you're honest, you're fair, you're the kind of person they want to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And that will help you attract the right people. It's all part of the same package.
Totally. I think, and we can wrap this up, Paul.
Okay.
But I think even like back to the Elon thing, and I'm kind of fixated on that because I think it actually ties this conversation around quite well. Is like when you're not too proud to get in the trenches with the team, and you are out of your way, assuming that your way is the best way, and you're focusing on like what are the themes or the trends that we need to be following
Right.
to get the work done. That's where you can build the foundation, the processes, systems to hire into.
And you're also a good listener, right? If
Right.
people say, "Hey, this isn't working," you need to say, "Hey, you're." I mean, I surround myself with a lot of smart people, and they know. I mean, if my COO says this isn't going to work, I go, "Great, let's do something else." I don't argue with her, right?
Right.
So it's listening. It's becoming. I'm sure there's a bunch of like, what is it? The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. The what is it? The 4 Secrets. There's all kinds of books out there on how to become a better human being.
Right.
And to me, that's where you need to spend the time, because if you're better, you'll attract better people, better subcontractors. Your life will be easier. If you look at people whose life isn't working, it's generally some form of victim. They blame the industry, they blame their brother, they blame their genes, they blame pick one, right? And it's always never their fault. And they're like, around people like they're the drama king or queen, right? You just show up, and if there's 3 women walking down the road and one's terrified of dogs, which one's the dog going to bite?
The one that's terrified of dogs.
Absolutely. It's like magnetic, right? So if there's really bad employees, what company is going to attract the bad employees? Someone who expects to get bad employees, right? All employees suck. They're not any good. You can't trust them. They don't work hard. And they have this vision of employees, and that's the people they get.
Right.
Because it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah. How long do you give people like that, Paul? In the organization, like you start seeing this stuff and you're like, dude, I'm seeing it.
The answer is way too long.
People do, but you should nip it.
Right. But I've done it myself, right? Because it's, but they know. And I went through the same thing, like, this and that. And you
justify it.
You justify it by, and it just drags on, right? And then when they finally leave, you go, oh my God, best thing I ever did.
Yeah.
But I'm sure everybody listening to this podcast has somebody either in their life or in their business that they know needs to go.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason in the universe, they keep that person involved with that person, and that person brings their drama to their life. It just happens that way.
Okay. And so now strategy, you're listening to the podcast. You're like, dude, I know I got to get rid of this person. Or there's a couple of them where you're like, but they're carrying the weight, like as much of a pain as they are, as much misaligned as we are. Do you strategically advise them to start recruiting in the background, preparing for a replacement, and then dump them?
Sometimes we need to do that. I mean, sometimes we're open, sometimes after recruiting, depends on the position. Mm-hmm. But, you need to get rid of that person because they're killing your company. Yeah. And so you just need to let them go. And maybe you need an intervention, like for your employees, go and say, hey, like an AA thing, like, you aren't an alcoholic, right? Well, I'm going to call this, what's the word for that? Codependent.
Yes. Right?
Yeah. And most people disguise codependence as being nice.
Yeah.
And it's not, it's codependence.
Yeah.
And, to me, if a person should go and you're going, well, they have a family and I've known it for 5 years and blah, blah, blah. And they aren't willing to go through the emotional pain to make the right decision. And that's codependence.
Yeah. Okay, this is great, Paul. You're always a wealth of knowledge. One last piece.
Yes.
What do you leave the fine contractors of America with regarding the business tips we've talked about, recruiting practices? What do you think is the most actionable, the most high yielding that you can leave them with?
Well, I'm going to give you 3. I'm sorry.
Okay. No,
Work harder on yourself than you do on your business.
Okay.
Always be marketing and always be recruiting, because your business is determined by your clients and your team.
Okay. But that was 2. Always work on yourself harder than your business, and basically emphasize marketing and recruiting.
Right, because you're only as good as your team and your clients.
Okay, Absolutely. That's a third. Okay. Paul, I appreciate it. Where can the listeners find you?
Well, go to Contractor Staffing Source, our website, and really get an appointment with me. They just say, would like to meet with Paul, click on the button, and I'll set up an appointment, half-hour talk with them, no problem.
Hundreds of thousands of hours in this space, has worked with thousands of builders. Paul Sanneman's got this down to a science. Everybody, you need to follow Paul along. The man's passionate about this. Paul, it was great. We met at the Remodeler Summit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But I appreciate you, sir. I'll let you get back to it. And
thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate that. Thanks.
Of course. We'll see you, Paul.